To say the first half of the season has been emotional would be a huge understatement. Seasons are fleeting, games become more precious, chances for success diminish. It's a dark place, probably the darkest it's ever been. And you ask yourself, why did this have to happen? It's not always easy to watch. I think anybody who's been in this position understands that. Ultimately, it's about the team. It's what we've preached our entire lives.
I appreciate that emotional, dramatic music there. Sunday, Dak wasn't the only Cowboys quarterback making headlines. Jason Lockenfor is reporting there will be a major trade market for Romo this offseason, with multiple teams interested in his services. The Broncos and Cardinals have been heavily mentioned thus far. Ian Rappaport also reporting that Romo is eyeing Denver as a possible landing spot. But Rappaport went on to say walking away from the game is a consideration for Romo as well, so he's considering retiring. Max, where should he be next season?
The truth is he should be on Dallas's bench. I mean, if there's a way to redo a deal so that he's not really killing your cap, he's not healthy enough, nor will he ever be healthy enough to start for a team. Because if he went to a place like Denver or wherever else, they really do need a starting quarterback that they can bank on throughout the course of the season. Can't bank on him. But he still has enough left when he's on the field. I can understand why he doesn't want to hang it up. And the way Jerry Jones has taken care of him, the way the Dallas Cowboys culture, which is just different from all the other teams because they are America's team, even though it's sickening, it's true, that kind of PR stunt has worked. The way Jerry Jones has taken care of him, if Tony Romo retires a Dallas Cowboy, he will, whether you think he deserves it or not, occupy a space in their history and tradition that is really elevated. So considering he's still good when he's on the field, considering the Cowboys need a backup quarterback, and considering he can't stay healthy for another team, why wouldn't he just back up Dak next season?
Let me get this out the way right now.
Get him.
I think Tony Romo should retire. You have several back injuries over the last 2 to 2.5 years. You have the broken collarbone as well. You have age as an issue. I totally understand from an emotional standpoint why Tony Romo doesn't want to leave, because believe it or not, you keep giving credit to Stephen Jones. The person who actually deserves most of the credit for the Cowboys and what's transpired is Tony Romo, because when Jerry Jones wanted to do certain things, it was Tony Romo that was in his face saying draft offensive lineman, and he was beating his head, he was beating that drum big time. The Zach Martins of the world, Travis Fredericks of the world, people like that.
Oh, Stephen A. spoken to someone.
So, no, I'm just telling you, I have in the past, but I'm just saying this is something that we've all known. So because Tony Romo was fixated on buffering that offensive line, we all know that's what Dallas' success is primarily predicated on. Their ability to run the football, their ability to pass protect, time of possession. Those are the things that have worked tremendously in their favor. Having said all of that, it still hasn't been enough to keep Tony Romo healthy. And so as a result of that, no matter where you go, you're so fragile. And we all know how much it must hurt, because as this team finally rises, you're not really a part of it in terms of playing on the field. So your heart ain't really going anywhere else. We all know where he wants to be, but this is Dak's show now. Call it a career, move on, collect your money, be safe.
Let me address Max in his statement as far as Tony Romo. Tony Romo will be a distraction. And no starting quarterback wants to be the backup for the same team that you were the starting quarterback for over a decade. Mm-hmm. That's just something that just can't happen. It's impossible for the player, because if the player that's playing in front of you is having so much success, now you begin to regret your decision to come back and be the backup, but let alone you question your ability and what you can provide for this football team. The best thing for him to do is to go elsewhere and to see if he can continue on with his career. Perfect example being Peyton Manning. Everyone was talking about they should draft Andrew Luck and let Andrew learn under Peyton for a year, then all of a sudden part ways with Peyton. Peyton didn't want to be in that situation.
Neither did Andrew Luck.
Right.
Yeah, right.
That's why he went elsewhere. Now, as for your situation, what you were talking about, the emotion aspect of it, I don't think he should retire. I think what he should do is get himself back healthy at 100%, find out what the market offers him, meaning what team will be willing to bring him in, also, and them being a contributor, meaning they can compete for a title. And so for the Denver Broncos, I know he's interested in it because he's looking at Trevor Siemian and saying that defense is outstanding. They have weapons with Demaryius Thomas and Sanders and these guys, and the offensive line is okay. That's a great spot, but I don't think they make that move of $14, $15 million. And then
they're not going to do it because you're running a football team. You can't, and you think you're ready to actually win. You're missing a quarterback. You are not going to stake the hopes of that season on a guy who you know is not going to get through the season.
Peyton Manning came off a neck injury.
No, but it wasn't a degenerative. It wasn't a chronic degenerative condition to the extent that Romo's is, where it's consistently the back that's ending his seasons.
Wait a minute.
Hold on.
Scarier,
Let me get to you. Hold on. Peyton Manning was a Super Bowl champion. Tony Romo has 2 playoff victories in his entire career.
I'll get on his numbers and things that
I'm not going to numbers.
I'm going by the injury. Stop trying to go in advance and every time we start talking. I'll get to you in a minute. Let's talk about the emotion aspect of it.
So I want to talk about the emotion. Yeah. He's going to be a distraction. He's such a distraction. This year, they're 9-1. He's distracted them to a 9-1 record.
He's a distraction right up until they lose. And once, think about the Philadelphia Eagles game. When all of a sudden, that was the big time of when he was supposed to come back because we had heard reports that he had been practicing a little bit. What happened with Dak Prescott? Dak had his worst game that he had played in because now he's forcing balls at Des Bryant. He's looking over his shoulder. There's conversations of will that be the end for him? I talked to Dak Prescott, and that was the whole question that I had for him was, have they talked to you yet? Not yet. So what are they waiting on? They're going into the bye week. Let's have a conversation. Am I going to go into this bye week as a starting quarterback, or am I coming back as the backup? That's a question that's an answer.
Are you suggesting that Dak struggled as a rookie quarterback playing against an excellent defense? His worst game that you want to point to as a result of distraction is a comeback overtime win.
Listen,
that's what you want to point to?
A comeback overtime win, but you can go by the eye test. You watch the game. Dak was missing throws thrown off his back foot.
Until it counted.
Here you go with until it mattered. Yeah, he's a great ball player. Because you're a football player, that means you're going to do what it takes to win the game. It wasn't nobody else's fault but the Eagles why 2 guys fell and all of a sudden Jason Witten standing in the end zone by himself. That wasn't Dak Prescott. That was just bad play by the Philadelphia Eagles. But for a guy like Dak Prescott, being young, Ezekiel Elliott, same way, why have distractions where they have to consistently answer questions about a guy that's not even playing?
I'll tell you why. Because the issue last year was no backup. They'd like a backup quarterback. What's the best backup quarterback you can have? A guy who knows the system inside and out, is excellent when he's on the field. Health will not allow him to play a full season, but if you keep him healthy on the bench, you need him to pinch hit a week or two, can come on and you don't really drop off. That's perfect.
The only way I would chime in is this, and this is more of a question that's more so than anything else, because you would know better than us. Can you love a place so much that you're willing to settle for certain conditions that are worse than what they used to be because the overall experience, ambiance, and everything that comes with it facilitates your desire to stay on board, particularly when it's not diminished skill per se. It's age, it's attrition, and health. When you look at a guy like Tony Romo, even though I get on him for only having 2 playoff victories,
and I do
there is no question that he's a big-time talent. So I'm able to look at him and say, damn, you're just 36 with the back. You haven't been healthy. Right. That's why you're not out there.
Yeah.
As opposed to, no, dog, he's better than you. There's a difference, isn't it?
No, the whole thing is, to answer your question, no. I'm not going to be in a place. You played basketball.
Yep.
You're a starter for 5, 7, 10 years. You're the leading scorer. All of a sudden, a young stud comes in. He shows promise. You tear your ACL. He's the leading scorer, makes the all-star team. All of a sudden, people are raving about him coming back the next year. The coach comes to you and says, we're going to bring you off the bench. Okay, well, why am I coming off the bench? I'm the leading scorer. I'm the face of the franchise. Well, we feel better chemistry with this young guy. Are you going to sit there and settle for that?
You know what happens when they do that? Hold on. You know what happens?
You're not going to settle for that.
Donovan, you know what happens when they do that? Andre Iguodala goes to the bench and you win a championship. If you have selfless players,
that's no comparison. Your comparisons have been awful. Your comparisons have been terrible.
He's the other AI. What are you talking about?
Andre Iguodala was a starter. Andre Iguodala was a starter and an Olympic-level player.
That's right.
That's right. I know how much you know about basketball.
Thank you.
This man knows his basketball. You're embarrassing yourself with that statement.
No, that's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. Iverson. Yes, going to the bench.
Andre
That's
Iguodala,
right.
but that ain't comparison.
There are plenty of players of Iguodala's caliber who would not go to the bench like that.
I'm trying to tell you.
Perfect example.
You're wrong.
You bring up an AI. Let's go to the real AI.
The real AI.
Let's go to the real AI.
Ahead.
AI goes to Denver in a trade.
Right.
Plays with Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony is a young stud. All of a sudden, you keep hearing about Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, Carmelo Anthony. AI still can put up 25, 30, yeah, if he gets 30 shots. But yet still, that's what he's accustomed to.
Well, to buffer your argument even more, a better example would be when he went to Detroit afterwards.
There you go.
When he went
or
to Detroit,
Memphis.
Because when he went, well, no, not so much because it was done in Memphis, but when he went to Detroit, he wanted to start. Rip Hamilton wasn't having it.
No.
Rip Hamilton was like, I'm a champion. Hell with that. I ain't coming
You
off
guys
no
keep
damn
pointing
bench.
to teams that didn't go all the way because a player wasn't willing to make a sacrifice.
Detroit did go all the way.
No, not with Iverson.
No, I'm saying
they got rid of Iverson.
Rip Hamilton wasn't willing to concede to Iverson.
Right.
That's what we're talking about.
Because at that point, he was better for the team than Iverson.
No. But at that point, everybody was thinking about AI. AI was still box office. AI was still good for 20 a night. But he wasn't trying to come off the bench.
But you guys keep making it about the individual players. My point is, what is best for the team? The teams that can decide what's best for them and convince their players to behave selflessly win championships.
He's talking about the individual that can't be convinced.
I'm not talking about
Why are you so convinced that Tony Romo can't be convinced?
Because Tony Romo still feels he can play the game.
Right.
You heard it in
but
his
not
speech.
over the course of a whole season.
Well, you're saying that.
Yeah.
He mentally
And
feels
reality
like
is
he
saying
can.
that.
He doesn't believe that.
And I think he can. You see, I didn't think Peyton Manning would last as long as he did in Denver. But
Donovan,
he showed that.
We got to go to break. Yes or no? You think he retires or you think
No, I don't think he retires.
Okay.
I think he plays another couple years.
I don't think he retires either. I just think he should.
Let's leave it there.
From the 25-yard attempt, Matthew Wyman. Good snap, good hold. The kick is on the way.
It's a winner!
The Jayhawks hook the horns on senior day. I don't know if they felt worse for themselves or for Coach Charlie Strong.
Do you have any idea what this means for you in the big picture?
No, I don't. It's no idea.
It appears Charlie Strong is getting the hook from the horns. According to Brett McMurphy and multiple reports, Texas has decided to fire Charlie. The decision comes a day after Texas lost to Kansas for the first time since 1938. Strong is 16-20 overall, 12-14 in the Big 12 in 3 seasons with the Longhorns. Texas plays its regular season finale against TCU on Friday. Strong told our Kirk Herbstreit on Sunday night that he has not yet heard anything from the university and plans to go about his week as normal. Max?
Yep.
Is it time to go?
Nope. And I'm sure they'll get rid of him, but I think that's a mistake. The issue with Charlie Strong, and I know it's tough to make that argument on a day when, or the first day since we've talked about it, when you go out and you lose to Kansas. They haven't lost to them since 1938. They've only played 13 times to them, but still, you're a 23-point favorite and you still lose, knowing your job could be on the line. It's a tough argument to make, but I'm going to make it because I believe it's true. Charlie Strong in Louisville was 7-6, 7-6, pedestrian. And then all of a sudden, 11-2, 12-1, right? And so I think the thinking was because he was like 6-7, 5-7, maybe trending in the wrong direction, but not all that different from his first couple seasons in Louisville. If he has a big third season, now is when we should start to see the improvement, and it didn't happen. If anything, it looks like they could be almost going backward after the Kansas loss. I'm not so sure. They're 4-2 in their last 6 games. Since he took over defensive play calling, they're much better. They have a very young team, a lot of freshmen and sophomores. And I wouldn't be so hasty. I wouldn't be so quick to pull the trigger because you're not getting the results you want yet. Having some stability in the program, if you think you have a good, solid coach with a good track record, and there are reasons, underlying reasons, to see that even if the improvement hasn't shown up in the 1-loss record, it may not be far away from showing up. I would keep Charlie Strong, though, Stephen A., I'm sure that's not what's going to happen.
Well, we know it's not going to happen. We know he's gone. I've been on the record saying on many, many occasions, particularly as it pertains to college football, that the paucity of African-American coaches is something that's incredibly alarming with me. So it's with deep sorrow that I say Max Kellerman, Charlie Strong has to go. He has to be fired. It's the right decision for Texas. Under no circumstances am I saying that Charlie Strong should not be a head coach in college football. I never liked him at Texas. I told him I did not like him at Texas. I don't give a damn that the governor is hugging him when he's going off the field after a win over Notre Dame to begin the season. A win which, by the way, they gave up 47 points at the time.
And doesn't look so good anymore either.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't care that the president of the university or the athletic director is in support of him. College football is all about alumni. And the fact of the matter is, Mack Brown, you're talking about a coach in Mack Brown that, I mean, he religiously won more than 8 games in the season. And he's gone in 16 years. Charlie Strong
they don't play
hasn't got
down
there.
there.
I mean, and they shouldn't. Yep. Texas is a big-time university. Big-time money. Facilities, big time. Austin, Texas is off the chain, okay? It's a haven for athletes. They should want to go there. You cannot be in that atmosphere and not win. It's just no way around it. Now, Charlie Strong comes up in there. I believe this man could coach a variety of places. But he goes up to Texas, and what does he do? You know, 9 players released for not following his rules. You got 5, what is this, Max? Like 5 core values: no drugs, no guns, no stealing, honesty, and respect for women. All incredibly admirable. Nothing to dispute there. The problem is that when you have 5 core values and you announce it to the world and what have you, as right as he may be, it's just little things like that might influence recruiting or lack thereof. In the end, here's what it comes down to. He hasn't won. And you can't lose.
I want to address that.
Texas.
I want to address that. I forgot which Gladwell book it was, The Tipping Point or Blinker, one of those books you buy at the airport. But he made a point about the Pepsi Challenge. Remember way back in the day when Pepsi came out with the Pepsi Challenge, and over the first 3 sips, they gave everyone a blind taste test. You got 3 sips, and everyone preferred Pepsi over Coke. So what did Coca-Cola do? They changed the formula. Remember, they came out with new Coke, and everyone was upset. And what it turned out was that people actually preferred Coke over Pepsi if they drank a full can. But over the first 3 sips, because Pepsi is sweeter, they preferred Pepsi. And that knee-jerk reaction over those 3 sips had Coca-Cola change its entire formula. So I would say this is Charlie Strong's 3rd season, 3 sips. You don't change the whole formula if you believe you got something good because you lost the Pepsi Challenge.
Max Kellerman.
It's a short hook there.
16 and 28, 3 sips. That's number 1. Especially not 3 sips when a guy by the name of Jim Harbaugh walked into a program that was considered just as bad, if not worse, in terms of its state of affairs than Texas, and immediately wins 10 games and a bowl. And then the second year, he's 10-1 and in the top 3 for the national championship picture. In the college football landscape, you are looking at what other people do, and you're asking, why are we not doing it? Texas is just as big of a program than Michigan, and he didn't get it done.
If the process for keeping coaches selects out for only coaches that bring you immediate success, then some other coaches who may bring you long-term success will never get a chance.
That's a generalist perspective. I'm giving you a guy in Jim Harbaugh that walked into a program and immediately won. And in the end,
I
believe, well, listen, Charlie Strong was supposed to be, which is why they brought him at Texas. Right. So now that he's not, I think he should get another head coaching job at Miami or somewhere else. I don't think Texas is ideal for him.
Yep, that current senior class has lost 25 games. That's the most by any class in Texas.
Can't have that.
1960. But we've had him on the show. He's a great guy.
He's a phenomenal guy.
I feel for him, and I hope the future is bright. Right.